got you going?
Okay. Well, we're gone. We missed a whole week, so it's going to be really important to do a summary. I certainly had to go back and reread what we had where we had left off. And if you remember, Zoe was at the first meeting of the debate club, and she tried to sort of hide herself, and she sat at the last table in the library away from everybody else. But her teacher, Mrs. Rosenbluth, said, "Zoe, come up here." And when she went to the front of the library, guess who was there? The young man that she admires so much because he's so confident, and his name is Matt. So he was at the table with another young lady. And Zoe was like, oh boy. And she just kept her head down and tried to stay as quiet as she could so nobody would notice her. And the other thing that when we left off, we followed Zoe home, and her mom's getting all the laundry ready to go to the laundromat. But she has to walk to the laundromat. You know, she doesn't have a car, only the boyfriend has a car. So she has to take a big basket full of laundry and the baby both together and do this long walk. But as she's ready to leave, Zoe asked her mom, she says, "Mom, do you ever feel confident?" And her mom says, "The only confident I am is confident that life is never going to get any easier than this." So being confident is something that's on Zoe's mind a lot. Now, when we read the next few chapters, we're going to be talking about a lot of people. So I'm going to refresh both you and me because there's a lot of characters to keep straight. Fuchsia is Zoe's best friend, and she's dyed her hair pink. Okay. She's sort of a rebel that way. And she lives with her mom, Crystal. Okay. The other young man that lives in Zoe's trailer park, his name is Silas. And he doesn't talk when he gets to school. He only talks when he gets off the bus, and he talks to his good friend, of course, who is Zoe. And he loves hunting, to go hunting with his dad. Mrs. Rochenbrew is Zoe's teacher. That's very sure that she wants Zoe to become part of the debate club. And Connor is the adult friend of Zoe's that works at the mom's pizza restaurant. His name, like I said, is Connor. So let's start with chapter 10. But next Sunday, my mom doesn't have to work, and neither does Lenny. Lenny goes out to help a neighbor who's having a car issue. Lenny's father is watching the Weather Channel, and Bryce and Aurora are given the green light to pile into the big bed with my mom and the baby for cozy time. Along in the kitchen, I fix myself a frozen waffle and eat it looking out the window. All the trailers around us are gleaming in the sunlight. It's one of those crisp, clear days that make you think winter might not be that bad after all. After I brush my teeth, I peek in at them at my mom's bedroom. The baby's at the crook of my mom's arm playing with his toes, and Aurora's on her other side, her face buried in my mom's t-shirt, like she can't breathe in enough of her smell. Bryce has to be the lump that's under the covers down by my mom's knees. My mom looks tired, but not as tired as usual. But maybe Hector had one of his rare only wake up twice a nights. She smiles at me. It's an attack of the snuggle bugs. Aurora burrs in deeper in response. I sit down on the side of the bed near Hector and give his belly a tickle. It's his giggle button, and it almost always works. He lets out a happy crackle. My mom nearly giggles too. She's in a good mood today. I decide to go for it. "Can I take the bus down to the rec hall this morning?" I asked. "I promised to be back by 2. "No later than 2? My mom's brow furrows, but only slightly. She looks over to where the sunlight is shining around the corners of Lenny's nice curtains, and then she nods. "Just don't miss the bus back. All my errands are on the other side of town this afternoon, and I won't be able to pick you up." I can't put on my coat fast enough. Soon I'm out in that sunshine with bus money in my pocket, responsible for no one else but myself for 4 whole hours. Fuchsia is sitting on the steps just inside the wreck, like I was hoping she might be. She smiles, her finger twisting around one of her bright pink side buns. "You came. You ready for your little plastic foosball man to get destroyed?" I wait for her to start grilling me about the crush thing. But after multiple days of me insisting there's no such thing, I think she's finally started to believe me. She tosses me a folded up white paper bag, and I sit down on the stairs next to her. I reach into the bag to find a giant glazed donut. It's a day old, but it takes a lot for a donut to go bad. Krista brought home some almond torts too, but I know you don't like almond stuff. Thanks, I say as I dig in. Fuchsia's mom, Crystal, whose Fuchsia unaffectionately calls by a first name, works the early shift at the bakery and currently has full custody of Fuchsia. But that happened only after Fuchsia got sent to foster care for a bunch of years. One rainy day, back in second grade, her mom was so strung out on drugs, she couldn't unlock the door to let Fuchsia into their apartment after school. Our teacher was still at school when Soap Fuchsia, then McKenna, turned up waiting to use the phone, and the teacher asked questions, and Fuchsia was too tired to lie. Supposedly, Fuchsia's mom has kicked the habit. At least she convinced the judge who gave her custody again that she had. But it's hard to know for sure. At least being able to bring home free baked goods is a perk. When I finish eating my donut, I give Fuchsia's bright pink Sharpie-covered sneakers a kick. So, do you want me to remind you what happened the last time we played? She stands up. You know, your golds actually counted for negative points, so my score was way bigger than yours. She runs up the stairs before I can say anything in response. Most of the kids who are at the rec on Sunday mornings usually play pickup basketball. So that means the game room is all Irish. I call red, Fuchsia says as I drop my coat on the pool table. Those white guys are worthless last time I played you. When I tell them to block a shot, they're supposed to block that shot. It's not their fault. I stick a ball in and take a practice shot, 1 gold on each of the white guys. Their little plastic heads can barely believe my amazing skills. Wait, you can't start yet. I have to do my good luck dance first. Fuchsia closes her eyes and plants her feet on the ground like she's channeling supersonic powers from the blue painted floorboards. She does wiggle, finger, jazz hands, and then moves into a high knee lifts like in PE with enough enthusiasm that I wonder if it's possible for her knee to smash into her nose. Spinning skills, get ready. Gonna spin it, gonna win it. Oh no, I say, it's about being smooth. And I slide my arms through the air like the tentacles they are and shimmy around the table. No matter how small that opening is, I'm slipping that ball right through it. It's called being a foosball boss. We'll see who the real foosball boss is. And she rubs her hands together and then grabs the handles. Spin to win. Fuchsia proceeds to spin her handles like a maniac for the next 5 minutes, missing the ball nearly every time it passes by. She doesn't stop even when I score on her. Spin to win, she shouts with the thumpy thump of the spinning plastic men as I collect the ball from her gold. How long do you think you can keep that up? I asked. Forever. I promised Jane Kitty I'd score at least once the next time I played against you, so there's no time for slacking. I load the ball back in. Well, I hope Jane Kitty is ready to be disappointed because before I can finish my sentence, the ball rolls directly into Fuchsia's spinning offensive line, just as their red bodies whip around. And with an ear-splitting smack, they whack the ball straight into my gold. Wham, shouts Fuchsia. She stops spinning her handles and switches into a victory dance, windmilling her arms as she leaps around the room. I try to keep a straight face, but I burst out laughing, especially because now she's grabbed a cue stick from the pool table and is wielding it like she's a very proud drum major in a very proud parade. I'm so glad you'll have good news to share with Jane Kitty. Fuchsia whips her cue stick around until she's leaning on it like a cane. Yeah, we should probably stop here. I think that was my good luck of the week. So we do. We move on to ping pong and score based on who can hit the most surfaces around the room with a single shot. Chapter 11. On the way to my bus stop on Wednesday, I'm running my fingers through my hair because I don't have time to brush it. When I see Silas coming down the steps of his trailer, except his dad's truck isn't in the driveway like it always is. Hey, where's your truck? Silas shakes his head and stares at the ground in front of him. Still at the police station, he mumbles. What? Is everything okay? Yeah, except that one of the teachers at school called the police when he saw our shotgun in the back of our truck when my dad was picking me up after school. Silas is walking fast, and I hustled to catch up to him. What happened? I asked. The police were nice enough. They got it that he was picking me up to go hunting. They just had to hold the truck overnight for security purposes. But at least they gave us a ride to the woods around Square Tail Brook so we could go hunting. And my dad and I had a great time anyway. Still, that teacher wasn't a fan of hunting. Silas shakes his head. If he eats meat, he sure isn't thinking about where it comes from. You're going to keep hunting though, right? Of course I am. You better. He nods at me and looks for a long time. So aren't you going to ask me what we found yesterday? I bite back a smile. Hey, what did you find? Silas stares up into the white sky. More coyote tracks, porcupine scat, and the newest snow was so dry that whenever some slid off that high tree branch, it was like shining bits of gold shimmering down in the sunlight. I stare at Silas. I get why he keeps his mouth shut as soon as he's around other kids. Otherwise, people would stand in line just to beat him up. No sign of the bobcat? Silas grins. Not yet. On the bus, I ignore the 8th grade boy who pretends to call some comment I can't understand and lean my face against the window. I could see Matt's house as soon as we turn the corner into a street. His front door is open, and when the bus pulls up in front of his house, I can make out his mom in the doorway with him, pushing a travel mug into his hand. She gives him a kiss on the cheek just as he heads towards the bus. Is that coffee? Someone calls to Matt as he makes his way to the aisle, down the aisle of the bus. Yeah, right, Matt says. Banana peanut butter smoothie. I was up late working on that essay for social studies, and I didn't have time for breakfast. I try to picture my mom pulling herself out of bed to make me a smoothie because I'm tired in the morning, as if she wasn't exhausted, as if she did have time to take care of Hector, as if Frank went through a fit for getting woken up by a blender, as if we had a working blender, as if we had bananas, as if. The 7th grade hallway is already jam-packed with bodies in backpacks when I arrive. As I make my way through the sea of shrieks and the rattle of lockers slamming shut, the slits of my octopus eyes stay horizontal. Octopus have these little sacs called statocytes that respond to motion and gravity so that their eyes can be totally unfazed, totally steady. It doesn't matter if the current whips all around and sends my tentacles off in some random direction. My eyes are always right side up, never upside down. Fuchsia's waiting for me at my locker, wearing her black painted jeans and shirt with intentional holes. When I get to my locker, she has her eyes closed, as though she wasn't just watching me make my way through the hallway. She lets out a huge sigh. What's wrong? I ask. She opens one eye. Oh, hey, she says. When did you get here? As though she wasn't just watching me. She's definitely not the Fuchsia who was dancing around the game room on Sunday. I start opening my locker. She sighs again and rolls her eyes so slowly and dramatically that I wonder if her eyeballs are going to roll into the back of her head. She does not exactly have steady horizontal octopus eyes. I give up. What's wrong? I asked again. It's all stupid. I jiggle my locker open. What is? I hang up my coat while I wait for an answer, but she doesn't say anything. I look at her and she's twisting up a flyer someone was handing out about some student council fundraiser. The top of it says something about buying Valentine's Day carnations for your sweetie and besties. Mostly, though, she looks like she's going to throw up. I push my locker shut. What's going on? Crystal and her goo brain decided we might be moving again. What? To where? Just down the street like we always do. I guess there's some guy, Michael, who's going to cut us a better deal on rent. But Future stares into my locker like it's Crystal's gooey brain. I don't want to move again. And this Michael guy seems super sketchy. He started hanging around Crystal at the bottle deposit a few weeks ago. Then he offered to give her a ride to Walmart, and she let him. She had enough sense to not let him drive her home afterwards. But here we are 3 weeks later, and who cares if sketchy Michael doesn't know where we live, because soon we're going to be moving into his very own sketchy apartment. Tell your mom you don't want to go. Fuchsia shakes her head. Oh, she waved some stupid custody paperwork in my face and said, I've got to do what she says. Fuchsia rips a piece off the flyer. That's what she thinks. Crystal can turn into a full-on defensive lineman when she wants to, like when she and my mom had the big falling out that ended their friendship. It was like Crystal tucked her head and tried to plow my mom right over. Jealous, my mom said afterwards. And that's why you don't poke your nose in other people's business. And Lenny added plenty of any Crystal words of his own. Future turns around and kicks the locker she's been leaning against. And she doesn't think I'd be able to bring Jane Kitty with me because this Michael guy doesn't like cats. I shut my locker. What are you going to do? Fuchsia rips off another section of the flyer and starts balling it up between fingers. She said she called the cops on me if I refused. Oh, I take a deep breath. Are you sure this Michael isn't just an okay guy? Have you ever seen him being sketchy? I can tell. He's got sketch written all over him. Do you want to sign up to move in with him instead of me? Well, maybe it won't be too bad, I say. Maybe he'll fall in love with Jean Kitty just like you did. You could even get your own room. Yeah, right. She glares at me like I'm the one forcing her to move. I'll make sure that you're the first one to know when I do. I try to keep my octopus eyes as steady as possible. Well, what do you want me to? But Fuchsia cuts me off. You know, maybe Crystal isn't the only one who can make a big deal phone call, because all I have to do is call that DCF person and start telling them stuff. Her eyes light up. You know, I could tell her that. I could tell her that she's in for it if she goes ahead with this. Several lockers down, I hear laughter, and I turn to see a bunch of boys with Matt in the middle telling some jokes. And then if Fuchsia's saying, wait, what are you staring at? I quickly look away from the group of boys. Nothing. Oh, Fuchsia throws a little paper ball at me. I was totally right, wasn't I? You do have some boy thing going on. I do not. Say it then, she said. Say what? Say, there is not a single boy in this hallway that I could be interested in. You're ridiculous. And too loud. Say it. You should get going to your homeroom, I say. Aren't you going to get a detention if you're late again? Say it. I shake my head and walk away, past the boys without looking at a single one of them. You didn't say it, Fuchsia calls after me. Fuchsia might have been the only girl willing to be friends with me when I moved back to town in the 5th grade, but she doesn't always make it easy. During this week's ACE period, Mrs. Rochenbeau is going on and on about supporting your position in the debate with evidence. Too bad, I'm pretty clear on my position already. It is, I don't belong in ACE period debate club, and I've got plenty of evidence to back it up. Evidence 1, hermit crabs in the science classroom don't look down on me. The cat drawing girl, whose name is apparently Lydia, is another story. I'm pretty sure she keeps shifting her notebook away from me. Matt hasn't even noticed I'm here. Evidence number 2, the hermit crabs need me because no one deserves to live in a filthy tank, and Lydia and Matt definitely don't need me. Evidence 3, I stop when I realize Miss Rochenbeau is passing out home sheets. I sneak a peek at Lydia and then a super quick one at Matt. Both of them are already starting to read the worksheet. Hopefully this can be like a group work during regular classes when the other 2 people do the talking and my contribution is to not yell or throw up on anything. And look, 20 minutes later, when it's the end of ACE period, my worksheet is thrown up free. Victory is mine. And I don't care that Mrs. Rochenbeau raises her eyebrows when she picks up my worksheet and it's blank. I'm here, aren't I? No one can force me to do more than that. 2 periods later is social studies, and Mrs. Rochenbeau is coming around to collect an essay that's due that I've yet again done a wonderful job of not doing. Zoe, she whispers when she gets to my desk, and I don't have anything to turn in. I'd like you to stay after class so we can talk. I don't say a word or even nod. She walks away like I've agreed to it. Sure enough, when there's just a few minutes left of class and my tentacles start working to gather up my papers, Mrs. Rochenbeau, who's been reading us excerpts from Daniel Webster, Henry Clay, and John Calhoun's speeches in Congress, wanders over to my desk without missing a beat and rests her hand on my notebook. It doesn't matter how many tentacles I have. She's not going to let me pack up my notebook. When the class has been dismissed and I'm still in my seat, Mrs. Rochenbeau finally removes her hand from my desk. Thank you for staying after, Zoe, she says. Oh, I didn't exactly have a choice. Mrs. Rochenbeau pulls the neighboring student desk over and sits down on it. Now, she says, her big earrings bouncing off the collar of a different turtleneck sweater, we could talk about how much your grades will suffer if you don't turn in this reflection essay. But instead, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about your participation in debate club. I watch her through the slits of my octopus eyes, nice and steady. I want to know why you're not trying. I glance at the clock, and I want to know what kind of person you want to be. I want to be the kind of person that doesn't have to sit here and have to have this conversation. What's your next class, she asked. Computer tech, I say. So it's all the way down the other wing, so I better leave right now. Great, she says without standing up. That means we have the next 43 minutes to dig into this. I have a prep period right now, and Mr. Roberts will definitely understand why you aren't able to be in class today. I'll be happy to talk to him about it over lunch. It's like my octopus body has gotten trapped in a net. but there has to be an opening somewhere if I can just stay calm and avoid getting tangled up. Marcy, another teacher pops her head into the room. Do you have a minute? It's my opening. My tentacles spring back to life, and I stand up from my desk. Sit back down, Miss Russianview says to me. To the other teacher, she says, sorry, another time, maybe. This is important. I slide back into my chair in a net, and now I'm getting poked with a stick. She even thinks it's important to poke me. Important. Me. Once the other teacher is gone, Mrs. Russianview turns back to me. She says things, but I'm not listening. No one has ever connected me with being important. The things they want me to do are important. Do my homework, bring a pencil, wear sneakers for PE. But this somehow feels different. Mrs. Russianview has stopped talking, is looking like she's waiting for me to say something. When I don't, she says again, Zoe, what kind of person do you want to be? I stare down at my notebook. What am I supposed to say to that? I don't know, I finally mumble. I wait for Mrs. Russianview to say, that's okay, because I don't know, almost always gets a teacher to move on, but she doesn't. Instead, she stares at me harder and finally says, then I'm glad you have some time right now to think about it. I shift to my seat. Here, she says, stand up. I want you to come over here. She goes over to her desk in front of the corner of the room and starts cleaning off the top of it. She moves a pile to the top of a filing cabinet and then pulls out the cushy rolling chair. Come sit, she says. At your desk? She nods. I want you to imagine you're an adult, and I want you to picture the life you want to have. Oh, and hold on. She bends down and rummages in front of the cupboards behind her desk until she pulls out a bag of pretzels. Good hard thinking is always a lot easier with food. I slowly make my way towards her desk. When I finally reach the cushy rolling chair, I look at her. Really? Really, she says. I sink down into it. I rest my arms on the armrest. I lean my head back. I survey the classroom like a kingdom. Like all those hard plastic desks are my kingdom. I lean forward and take a pretzel. I'm ready to start telling myself a story about the pretzel eating queen when Miss Russianview takes a seat in the front row of the student desk. Does it feel different there? She asked. I nod. I take another pretzel. Good, she says. That should help. Sometimes the walls of the hole we're in are too close for us to see anything else. I stop eating the pretzel. Are you saying I'm in a hole? Mrs. Russianview doesn't move. Do you think you're in a hole? I feel my brow furrowing against my will. I need to be an expressionless wall that things just bounce off, like Silas, or even better, so slimy that things slide right off, like any good octopus. Because if people see that they're getting to you, they'll never let up. Of course not, I say quickly. I try to pretend that things are so easy right now, I could never even consider my life as a whole. Because it's like beautiful, flat, easy walking ground all the time now, right? Well, maybe some bumps along the way, but that's just like the beautiful rolling hills they show on the ads to remind people that they should come to Vermont for vacation. You know that Ace Period Debate Club is ending and a new rotation starts next week, right? Do I know that? Of course I don't know it. But since I don't usually listen to the teacher, that makes sense. Mrs. Russianview leans forward. The real debate club is going to be starting after school next week, and I want you to be part of it. Because I've done such a great job during Ace Period, the crack slips out before I can stop it, but Mrs. Russianview doesn't flinch. She just keeps staring me down. She can't be serious. But after school, I need to pick up your brother and sister, right? What time does the Head Start bus drop them off? Oh, about 3:55. Great. Debate club goes until 3:30, and then I can give you a ride right to their bus stop. I've checked to make sure that I could legally drive a student, and as long as your mom does consent, it's fine. She'd be willing to be my personal driver? It's mind-blowing. I can almost forget that we're talking about staying after school for debate club. Almost, but not quite. We'll meet every day after school except for Tuesday when there's a faculty meeting. The tournament is at the beginning of March. She gives me a hard look. I look away. Zoe, only you can choose what kind of person you become. My eyes shift to the tops of the trees so I can see out the window. Bare branches, gray day, nothing else. That assumes I have a choice, I say. Mrs. Russianview practically leaps out of her seat. But you do have a choice. You make choices every day, and maybe you can't see how they could affect your future, but they do. She's quiet for a moment as she stands there. I want you to know, she finally continues, that I was the first person in my family to graduate high school and go to college. Since life isn't fair, It's often up to us to balance it out. I look at her. She's looking back at me like she's trying to explode me with her eyes. What made the difference for me, she says, was the advice someone gave me back when I was in middle school. I still don't believe she was like me. It wasn't fair and it wasn't easy, she continues, but it was the only way forward if I wanted a future for myself. I want to look away, but I also want to know what they said. What was it? She chews on her lip without taking her eyes off me. I'll tell it to you, and then I'm going to leave you alone for the rest of the period. Okay, are you ready? She asked. I nod. Are you sure you're ready? I nod again. Well, here it is. She stands up. Suck it up. Then she picks up a folder of papers and walks out of the room. Okay, you guys, we're going to stop right there. There's a lot going on in these last chapters, and I'm going to be taking notes because I like to have a discussion about it. One of the big words that we're talking about is confident. Remember, she admires Matt because he's so confident. She asked her mother if her mother feels confident. And now her teacher is wanting her to stay with the debate club because her teacher really believes she's got the talent within her. But Zoe is not very confident. So if you guys can unmute yourself, okay? You unmute it. Does anybody have an example in your life when you felt really confident about something?
No, not really.
I'm gonna move my little iPad over a little bit. Okay. Wimberly worried about everything. Okay, and there she's got her doll. Now that's a bunny right now. Okay, it's gonna show her worried about big things, like she's checking in on her mom and dad with a flashlight. Are they still there? They're in bed and she's got a flashlight shining on them. She's worried about little things, about being in the bathtub and maybe her bunny is gonna fall off the wall and get into the water. She's worried about that. She's worried in the morning and she's worried at night and she's worried throughout the day. Oh no, she's worried in bed, at night, throughout the day. And there's her dad and her mom and her grandmother, and they're all hugging her. And her mother says, you worry too much. And her father says, when you worry, I worry. And her grandmother says, worry, 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 too much worry. At home, Kimberly's looking up at the big tree and she's worried that maybe the tree will fall over and hit the house. And then she's worried about the crack in the living room wall. She's worried that maybe something is going to come out of the crack. Oh, at the playground, Wimberly worried about the chains on the swings, the bolts on the slide, and the bars on the jungle gym. And she's sitting with her dad and she's saying, I don't know, Dad. I don't think I want to go in the jungle gym. Maybe it might fall apart. Oh, poor Kimberly. And then she's watching her favorite bunny, Petals, being washed. And she's worried about Petals not coming out of the washing machine fully intact. Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Kimberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. When Wimberly was especially worried, she rubbed Petals' ears. That's her bunny's ears. Wimberly worried that if she didn't stop worrying, Petal would have no ears left at all. And there she is, rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. I'll get my camera. Look, this poor little girl. For her birthday, Wimberly worried that no one would come to her party. See, said her mother, there's nothing to worry about. And it's got 2 pages of all the kids that are at the party. But guess what? Wimberly worried there wouldn't be enough cake to feed them all. Oh, but there was. On Halloween, Wimberly worried there would be too many butterflies in the neighborhood parade because she was dressed up like a butterfly. And there's clowns and witches, mice and elephants. There's all kinds of costumes. But then Wimberly worried that she was the only butterfly. Soon, Wimberly had a new worry, school. Wimberly worried about the start of school more than anything she had ever worried about before. What if no one has stripes on their clothes? What if no one else brings a doll? What if the teacher is mean? What if the room smells bad? What if they make fun of my name? What if I can't find the bathroom? What if I hate the snack? What if I have to cry? Don't worry, said her mother. Don't worry, said her father. But Wimberly worried. She worried and worried and worried. She worried all the way to school. And it shows them walking to school. And poor Wimberly. While Wimberly's parents talked to the teacher, Miss Peachum, Wimberly looked around the room. Then Miss Peachum said, Wimberly, there's someone I think you should meet. Her name was Jewel. She was standing by herself. She was wearing stripes and she was holding a doll, just like Wimberly. Okay? Remember, Wimberly is wearing stripes too. At first, Wimberly and Jewel just peeked at each other. This is Petals, said Wimberly. This is Nibbles, said Jewel. Petal waved and Nibbles waved back. Hi, said Petal. Hi, said Nibbles. I rub her ears, said Wimberly. I rub her nose, said Jewel. So you can see the two of them are beginning to be friends. Okay? And they're holding their stuffed dolls out so they can each see each other and meet each other. Throughout the morning, Wimberly and Jewel sat side by side and played together whenever they could. Petal and Nibbles sat side by side too. Wimberly worried, but no more than usual, and sometimes even less. Before Wimberly knew it, it was time to go home. And they're playing the drums. They're going down a slide. I don't know. You guys remember when you were in kindergarten, all the fun things you got to do?
Yes.
Yes. Come back tomorrow, called Miss Peachum as the students walked out the door. Wimberly turned and smiled and waved. I will, she said. Don't worry. I think that was the first time that Wimberly felt like she did not have to worry. Okay. She wanted to go back to school, and maybe throughout the day she had some little worries, but not like the big ones she used to have. Does anybody have a great memory of being in preschool?